In the last part of the series, part 22, we listened to more of the teachings of YAHSHUA. YAHSHUA spoke to the Jews in parables. He did this to both reveal and conceal the truth. He spoke on very important things. He taught us what type of sowers we are to be, that we should sow on good ground. He also taught us about the wheat and the tares. The true believers were the wheat, but Satan also planted counterfeit tares. We will all grow together until he has the angels gather us all. It then ends badly for the tares. So please make sure your faith is true and genuine. He taught us about the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven. These things were not yet revealed to the Jews. He was bringing more and more understanding as his ministry continued. Not everyone understood. YAHSHUA said those with ears to hear would be able to understand him. Please remember, this message is true to this day. Not everyone will get what you're trying to say. You can't force it. I'm guilty of this myself. Just pray that they will open their ears to receive the truth. But debating with an atheist or non-believer can sometimes be pointless because they truly do not have the ears to hear. It can often sound foolish to them. So if they're not receiving you, just pray for them to have ears to hear. We are nearing the end of YAHSHUA's Galilean ministry. But before that point, YAHSHUA still does many more miracles. He casts out more demons and gives us important teachings. We need to hold on dearly to all of his wise words and make sure we continue to apply them to our lives. Everything he did and said had a message and or purpose to them. We study him so we can understand the messages and purposes more clearly. So let's do that now. Let's begin. So we last left YAHSHUA speaking with the disciples, going more in depth on the parables he just gave to the multitudes. On the same day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us cross over to the other side." Now when they had left the multitude, they took him along in the boat as he was, and other little boats were also with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that it was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the pillow, and they awoke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" Then he arose and rebuked the wind, and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. But he said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" And they feared exceedingly, and said to one another, "Who can this be, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" Even the disciples lacked faith when things got really out of hand. They had the Messiah, the Son of Elohim, right amongst them, but they saw something that they believed was uncontrollable. They thought it was too big for him. They placed a limit on him. And imagine that, after all the things they saw him do, they still lacked faith. It can be even harder for us, because they were actually with him physically. But it does not matter. He is still with us. That was the reason why we received the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. You may be going through things and don't think that your faith can get you through it, that YAHSHUA can't work a miracle for you. You may get so distracted by the obstacle that you forget who is in you and who is for you. Don't do this. You're giving up power. You need faith. Know that he is with you, and no matter what is coming towards you, no matter how strong the wind, no matter how big the wave, believe that YAHSHUA will get you through it. Depend on him. He will calm your storm. The problem for most is that we don't allow him to. We always need to have our hands on the steering wheel too. Speak to him, just like the disciples did. Ask him to calm the storm, or even better, just have faith that he will. He believed that they should have just had faith and believed that he would protect them. That's why he asked why they are so fearful and have no faith. We continuously see that it's all about our faith, time and time again. My 8-year-old can often get fearful about things, and I always speak to him about it. It's not just because I don't like him being scared of things, or I want him to be tough, but it's because of fear. Fear means a lack of faith. If you are afraid of something or always worrying about something, it's because you have no faith. How can you believe you have faith in Yahweh, but still worry and be fearful? Your fear shows a lack of faith. Those that experience the full power through the Messiah are those that don't lack faith. So the answer to the equation is simple. Don't lack faith. Do whatever you need to do to grow your strength in him. That usually happens the most when you block out the noise from the outside world and focus on him who is always with you. So after he calmed the storm, they came to the other side of the sea, to the country of Gadarenes. And when he had come out of the boat, immediately there met him out of the tombs a man with an unclean spirit, who had his dwelling among the tombs. And no one could bind him, not even with chains, because he had often been bound with shackles and chains, and the chains had been pulled apart by him, and the shackles broken in pieces. Neither could anyone tame him. And always, night and day, he was in the mountains and in the tombs, crying out and cutting himself with stones. When he saw YAHSHUA from afar, he ran and worshipped him, and he cried out with a loud voice and said, "What have I to do with you, YAHSHUA, son of the Most High Elohim? I implore you by Elohim that you do not torment me." For he said to him, "Come out of the man, unclean spirit." Then he asked him, "What is your name?" And he answered, saying, "My name is Legion, for we are many." Also he begged him earnestly that he would not send him out of the country. Now a large herd of swine was feeding there near the mountains. So all the demons begged him, saying, "Send us to the swine, that we may enter them." And at once YAHSHUA gave them permission. Then the unclean spirits went out and entered the swine. There were about 2,000. And the herd ran violently down the steep place into the sea and drowned into the sea. So those who fed the swine fled, and they told it in the city and in the country. And they went out to see what it was that had happened. Then they came to YAHSHUA and saw the one who had been demon-possessed and had the legion, sitting and clothed and in his right mind. And they were afraid. And those who saw it told them how it happened to him who had been demon-possessed, and about the swine. Then they began to plead with him to depart from their region. And when he got into the boat, he who had been demon-possessed begged him that he might be with them. However, YAHSHUA did not permit him, but said to him, "Go home to your friends and tell them what great things the Adon has done for you, how he has had compassion on you." And he departed and began to proclaim in Decapolis all that YAHSHUA had done for him, and all marveled. So this man was obviously known. He was obviously some sort of problem, which is why people were trying to restrain him with chains. But when YAHSHUA was coming, the demons knew who was coming upon them. They begged him by the Most High to not torment them. These demons knew who YAHSHUA was and the authority that he had. Don't ever forget that demons tremble in the fear of YAHSHUA. They hate a powerful believer because they have no power against them. So this is why Satan works hard to reduce our power. He's succeeding with that big time. I hope this series is reversing that though. But YAHSHUA commanded them to come out of that man. Understand this for these modern times. You know what we do today with people that act out and seem crazy? We place them in psychiatric facilities and then drug them up as if that would really do anything. The world today wants you to automatically label these people as crazy. Guess what would happen in the world if the masses didn't realize these people weren't crazy but truly demon-possessed? I'm positive we would have a lot more people believing in YAHSHUA. Evidence of the spirit world can be a strong motivator to be right with Yahweh. So society would just put them in a straitjacket and keep them locked away, because this is what keeps the truth away from people. A strong believer has power over these demons through the Ruach HaKodesh. YAHSHUA asked the demon his name. Now, I do not recommend you go casting out demons without fully committing to YAHSHUA and being strong in his word. My friend recently reminded me of this story in Acts chapter 19. Then some of the itinerant Jewish exorcists took it upon themselves to call the name of the Adon YAHSHUA over those who had evil spirits, saying, "We exorcise you by the name of YAHSHUA, whom Paul preaches." Also, there were 7 sons of Siva, a Jewish chief priest, who did so. And the evil spirit answered and said, "YAHSHUA I know, and Paul I know, but who are you?" Then the man, in whom the evil spirit was leaped on them, overpowered them and prevailed against them, so that they fled out of the house naked and wounded. Those men were exercising in power that they did not understand, and those spirits saw they had no authority and they overpowered them. This should not scare you, but you should understand that you must fully know your authority in the name of YAHSHUA and walk through it. If you notice, they did know YAHSHUA's authority, and they also knew of Paul's. When YAHSHUA was dealing with them, those demons were scared, and they begged YAHSHUA to allow them to go into the swine. It makes you wonder where else they thought he might have sent them to. Demons and spirits know they have a time limit, and they know where they're destined to go. The people heard what YAHSHUA did, and instead of being amazed, they wanted him to leave. 2,000 pigs was a large herd, even for today. For them to all just run in the water and drown must have been devastating financially. The people didn't want that amongst them, even though they saw how the demon-possessed man they all knew and heard of was in his right mind. The point is to understand that spiritual warfare is how we defeat the enemy. And in the next part of the series, you will learn how YAHSHUA gave his apostles the same power. Lastly to this subject, remember that name Legion, because culture today likes to use this name in different ways. I think there is even a cable television show with this name. Legion is a group of demons, and there's many of them. Many enough to go into 2,000 pigs. Stay away from that name and anything that tries to present it to you. Now when YAHSHUA had crossed over again by boat to the other side, a great multitude gathered to him, and he was by the sea. And behold, one of the rulers of the synagogue came, Jairus by name. And when he saw him, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter lies at the point of death. Come and lay your hands on her, that she may be healed, and she will live." So YAHSHUA went with him, and a great multitude followed him and thronged him. Now a certain woman had a flow of blood for 12 years, and had suffered many things from many physicians. She had spent all that she had and was no better, but rather grew worse. When she heard about YAHSHUA, she came behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she said, "If only I may touch his clothes, I shall be made well." Immediately, the fountain of her blood was dried up, and she felt in her body that she was healed of the affliction. And YAHSHUA, immediately knowing in himself that power had gone out of him, turned around in the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" But his disciples said to him, "You see the multitude thronging you, and you say, 'Who touched me?'" And he looked around to see her who had done this thing. But the woman, fearing and trembling, knowing what had happened to her, came and fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith has made you well. Go in peace and be healed of your affliction." While he was still speaking, some came from the ruler of the synagogue's house who said, "Your daughter is dead. Why trouble the teacher any further?" As soon as YAHSHUA heard the word that was spoken, he said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, only believe." And he permitted no one to follow him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. Then he came to the house of the ruler of the synagogue and saw a tumult and those who wept and wailed loudly. When he came in, he said to them, "Why make this commotion and weep? The child is not dead, but sleeping." And they ridiculed him. But when he had put them all outside, he took the father and the mother of the child and those who were with him and entered where the child was lying. Then he took the child by the hand and said to her, "Talitha kumi," which is translated, "Little girl, I say to you, arise." Immediately the girl arose and walked, for she was 12 years of age. And they were overcome with great amazement. But he commanded them strictly that no one should know it, and said that something should be given her to eat. So let's discuss this. There were of course many that did believe in YAHSHUA. This woman with her affliction of blood needed help. No one was able to do anything for her. She went to many doctors, and in the end, she continued to get worse, not better. Understand, with her blood flow, according to the Torah, she was considered unclean, and anyone she touched would become unclean for one day. This is according to Leviticus 15:25-27. She came to be healed either way. She had faith that he could fix this problem that no one else could. Immediately, when she touched him, she was healed. Even with all the people touching at him, he knew that this had happened. This woman, because of her faith, was healed. I love how he knew that this was happening. He felt some of his power leave him. He was just walking in fullness of power. She immediately told him, and she was scared, but he told her, "Your faith has made you well." It's so important to understand this because we keep seeing instances of this. Someone exercises faith and they're healed. Whatever their problem was is no longer an issue, all because they had faith. All these continuous examples of what happens when you have faith should be driving a point home that you need faith. Look what happened with the dead girl. Others told the man it was pointless now because the girl was dead. They said there was no reason to trouble YAHSHUA at that time. YAHSHUA told them, "Do not be afraid, only believe." This is such an important scripture that you should hold on to. Mark chapter 5, verse 36. Do not be afraid, only believe. I think that if we live with this as our motto as believers, we will be much more powerful within the world today. Do not be afraid, only believe. Do not be afraid, only believe. Do not be afraid, only believe. This is in regard to everything. You believe in YAHSHUA, so why do you fear? You believe in YAHSHUA, so why do you worry? Only believe. Believe in him. Believe in the power of the Ruach HaKodesh. Believe that he has your best interests at heart and submit to his will. Like I said earlier, when we are afraid, we are not activating our faith and we are not believing. If you want to know why you have many different troubles overcoming you, I guarantee it has to do with your fear and doubt, causing you to have unbelief. I know you believe in him, because you would not be watching this series if you did not. But are you believing in him fully? Be honest with yourself. When you see a mountain in your path, are you believing on him to move it or help you get around it? Or do you lack faith that allows you to be stuck and let the mountain win? Do not be afraid, only believe. Even when YAHSHUA still came to the house, the people in the house still ridiculed him, all the way until the little girl arose and walked. Then everyone was in amazement. And you know what? That's how it will be until he comes for us. People mocking our faith, telling you your faith is pointless, telling you there's nothing Elohim can do for you. The sad part is, for many, these naysayers will keep you from walking in the full power of the Ruach. But now that you hear this, don't let it happen to you. Believe in him. Submit to him and his will. Allow him to work for you. He did these many things so that others will believe in him. He still works like that today. Last weekend, I baptized one of our subscribers. And while that was a blessing, we had no idea that walking out in our faith would also be a huge blessing in answer to a prayer for our oldest son. He needed someone his own age that believed the same way he did. The young man I baptized had some naysaying from his family, but he never let it stop him from doing what he felt led to do. While being obedient to his calling on his life, he never knew he would be the answer to someone else's prayers. Let YAHSHUA work through you, no matter how big the obstacle can be. You never know who else you're blessing, or whose prayers you may be answering. You may think that what you're doing is for yourself, but your obedience has chain reactions. Your faith has chain reactions. By the man having faith that YAHSHUA would heal his daughter, he brought about chain reactions of belief for many others. I love how faith works. You must have it. When YAHSHUA departed from there, 2 blind men followed him, crying out and saying, "Son of David, have mercy on us." And when he had come into the house, the blind men came to him, and YAHSHUA said to them, "Do you believe that I'm able to do this?" They said to him, "Yes, Adon." Then he touched their eyes, saying, "According to your faith, let it be to you." And their eyes were opened. And YAHSHUA sternly warned them, saying, "See that no one knows it." But when they had departed, they spread the news about him in all the country. As they went out, behold, they brought to him a man, mute and demon-possessed. And when the demon was cast out, the mute spoke, and the multitudes marveled, saying, "It was never seen like this in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "He cast out demons by the ruler of the demons." Then YAHSHUA went about all the cities and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the gospel of the kingdom, and healing every sickness and every disease among the people. But he saw the multitudes. He was moved with the compassion for them, because they were weary and scattered, like sheep having no shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest truly is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, pray the Adon of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest." So he continued to heal and cast out demons. He showed his power, but he also noted that the laborers are few. Please be a laborer and shepherd these sheep. Do not leave the job for other people. Many of these churches are failing the flock. It's up to you, those who truly believe, to shepherd the lost sheep. But with all this, there is a recurring theme, and that is faith. Let's talk a little more about it. But first, these are the things you should take away from this part in the series. 1. Even the disciples lacked faith when things got really out of hand. 2. You may get so distracted by an obstacle that you forget who is in you and who is for you. Don't do this. You're giving up power. You need faith. 3. Fear means lack of faith. 4. Don't ever forget that demons tremble in fear of YAHSHUA. The demons knew who YAHSHUA was and the authority that he had. 5. A strong believer has power over these demons through the Ruach HaKodesh, Holy Spirit. 6. These continuous stories of what happens when you have faith should be driving a point home that you need faith. 7. Do not be afraid, only believe. 8. If you want to know why you have many different troubles overcoming you, I guarantee it has to do with your fear and doubt causing you to have unbelief. Get a handle on it. 9. You may think that what you're doing is for yourself, but your obedience has chain reactions. Your faith has chain reactions. 10. He continued to heal and cast out demons, showing his power. There is a constant recurring theme of the results of faith being presented. So this recurring theme of faith is the purpose of this part in the series. It's all about faith. This is not your first time hearing this, and it will not be your last. The world is seeking to reduce your faith in him. That is the strategy of the devil in this current time period. He gets you all bogged down in your life, making you think about a whole bunch of other things, so you can't focus on Yahweh. You have power over all these things if you walk in your faith. Even when bad happens, try to see the good. Try to understand why a situation may be happening. Maybe what you wanted wasn't really what's best for you. Do you consider that when analyzing what's going on in your life? Understand, your lack of faith will block him from you. He didn't work in people that lacked faith. Every time he did something, he spoke about their faith in him. So faith is obviously something very important to him. The devil knows that, and that's why he attacks that first. He wants to destroy your faith. Once he does that, he has taken away your power. The minute you let your fear control you, you are letting the devil win. The minute you let worry consume you, you are letting the devil win. The minute you let depression enter in, you are letting the devil win. Do not let anything decrease your faith. When you run your race with your blinders on and walk in the power knowing that Elohim has got your back, you are extremely powerful and the devil will flee from you. Resist the devil and he will flee from you. So when he is attacking you in these areas and you don't let him win, he's going to move on from this attack because it's pointless. But if you keep giving him an inch, he's going to take 10 miles. Just saying. He wants you. He wants you powerless. Because just like your faith causes chain reactions, so does your lack of faith, your unbelief. So I want you today to speak with the Father and claim your faith. Believe in YAHSHUA and the gift of the Ruach HaKodesh. Do not be afraid, only believe. So listen, thanks for watching. If this has blessed you, please like it and share it. Let this message touch whoever it can. Let's work on growing everyone's faith in YAHSHUA. If you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. I upload these every Friday. Please make sure to follow my wife and I on Facebook and Instagram. I want to make sure I give a special thank you for those who are sowing into this ministry. I truly thank you for your support. Your support is truly a blessing to me, truly humbling. I thank you for being obedient to Yahweh's call on your heart, and I'm truly grateful for you. You know who you are. Thank you again for your support and allowing Yahweh to work through you. May Elohim bless you. To everyone again, thanks for watching. May you all receive blessings and grace. I love you all.